working. So let's just double check the YouTube video and we'll see if anybody is smart enough to be there before us. So your channel, you're live, very cool. Let's grab it and test it. Vim TV. All right, it's good, I can see it. So I'm gonna give this link to you. I don't think anybody's watching yet, and if they are, they're listening to our stream of consciousness. There's Justine freaking out. All right, so there's the Vim. And the YouTube is... And then I promise I will stop clickety-clacking in your ear and we can actually do the thing. Your channel, Hive.io. Live now. There it is. I'm going to get that. Okay, perfect. We are great. Both streams are live. I've shared them with you there in the Discord. So we're going to ping everybody and then I think we can get going. And I'm officially going to start recording so that I can give this to you and to everybody else afterwards too. And then I'll put your name on the overlay like I promised you I would.
And as far as the which Discord channel, or are you gonna invite me?
Yeah, I will ping you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So AMA live chat. Let's get that opened up. Permissions. We want all community members to read and send messages. There we go. Everyone, come and join the live stream. Send now. All right, you should get a ping with that.
Perfect.
And we'll slowly get everybody in. I'm going to provide both links in that room as well. And I think I can start seeing people casting coming in. People are freaking out. Okay, and so have you found your way into there? You have. Perfect, Justin. So
I have.
I'm gonna say that you and I are gonna just shoot the breeze for a second or two because people are slowly coming in. I just pinged like 400 people.
Okay.
And we just got the tweet and the links and everything out there. So, you know, it'll take a second to make sure that people are actually here. We are streaming out in two different places. We're streaming live on YouTube, but we're also streaming from a Hive-centric DApp, which is called Vim TV, and they're a live streaming solution. They have a lot of gamers and live streamers on there. So that is our platform-based solution where we're going to be streaming this. And so people are joining the live chat thinking there's going to be some voice chat in there, but let's just see where we're at. And then I'll get you to introduce yourself. All right. I think Justine's here. So let's just see, is there anybody watching on the video right now who can hear us, who can type in this chat? Somebody type in the chat to let us know. I can see there people are typing. Hi, Snan. Hi, everybody. This is good. We'll wait a minute or two just to let a couple more people filter in. And then you can actually introduce yourself instead of feeling so put on the spot and left here awkwardly.
No, it's all good.
All right. Yeah, I see people waving. And so because we're recording this, we won't wait too long. But perfect. Yes, we can see you. We're starting to get responses. People are waving in the live chat in the Discord. So the way that this is going to work for everybody who's just joining us is you can watch, obviously, the video. You can see us here waving at you. And then also we're going to have the live Discord. So if you want to chat, if you want to give feedback to some of these questions, if you want to ask your own questions, and if you want Justin to be able to respond to you both in voice or in chat, then you can find the channel in the Hive Discord. So obviously, we want to start with welcoming Justin today. My name is Crimson Clad. You can call me Crim. But Justin is here. Justin is the star of this show. And we invited him to come by to talk a little bit more about the listing of Hive this morning and all of the services from his company and all the exciting things that are happening with him.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we on Sequoir, we just launched the Hive listing with the US dollar, pound sterling, and euro. It also has crypto to crypto swap functionality as well. You may have previously heard us, we were vert based prior to last Friday, but ultimately went through a rebrand kind of to shape out what our future looks like with much larger vision than what we previously set out to do, which was provide a fiat on ramp for the crypto Bitcoin.
So
So we've kind of grown from that.
yeah, so that's really exciting. So this is really new. This is a new thing for you guys. It's hot off the presses from last Friday. So you guys are pushing a lot of growth right now. Like there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just kind of taking everything in stride, especially in the current global landscape. We've actually seen a lot of what we've kind of seen over the last 2 years with like the diehards and the people that are really in the blockchain space. A lot of focus has come from, I wouldn't say the masses yet, but from maybe people that were background in 2017, friends and family of people that have been in crypto the last 2 3 years, really kind of looking at it as an alternative vehicle for their assets or their wealth, and instead of kind of relying on, you know, the traditional norms that we've had. So we've seen some growth there. And we're really just kind of like kickstarting it as much as we possibly can to get it to that next level and provide a service that gives back to the community.
Yeah, it's really exciting, definitely, because I mean, we've certainly seen, like you've said, that we're in kind of a scary world right now. People want more control over their information, who they're dealing with, their money, and their ability to move it as they see fit. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely really excited that this listing has come about because you guys seem to have a lot of connections for US customers, which, you know, up to this point has been a real struggle for sure. People in the US, have met so many in this space, have felt a little bit sort of cordoned off from the crypto sphere because there's so many global exchange options that just don't work with them. And
Mm-hmm.
so this has been a really exciting thing to find that, you know, you guys are really involved in that and have a lot of services that you can offer these people. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's I mean it's very difficult, and so we understand there could be some frustrations with us not having every type of payment option that you could imagine, maybe not having all the states in the United States covered. But it comes down to compliance and regulation. One of the things that makes the United States very hard is it's not necessarily just on a federal level. It's each of the 50 states actually have their own regulations and laws related to the movement of money, and
That
so that's
is wild.
it. Absolutely, and it makes it very challenging. But at the same time, because we've started in the U.S., any of our compliance, the regulations that we've set up, that's kind of the gold standard as far as like the government involvement and making sure that everything's in line. So, kind of making sure all our I's are dotted, T's are crossed in the U.S. That kind of trickles down to the other regions that we support, and making sure that we have, very strong compliance standards and regulations in place to not only protect ourselves but all of our customers.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I know that some of the questions that came in on the post are definitely related to some of the services that you guys might offer that people of Hive have not had access to yet. So I know there's some real excitement around that. Um, I guess probably to start with, because one thing that I did notice is because this branding is so new, and you guys haven't had a chance to really kind of get out there and give the spiel yet.
Yeah.
Certainly, can you kind of like give us a little elevator pitch about sort of what you're best at, what you're going to do, and why Hivers need to use you? Because I mean, I've got some ideas, obviously, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're Sequoir. I know it might be a little difficult to spell just because we have spelt it in a different way. So Sequoir comes from the word secure and then acquire, meaning to, go out and acquire some of these assets in a secure and easy manner. At our core, that's what we want to do. We want to open on ramps and off ramps to many different regions, many different types of fiat, many different types of payment options, and really just simplify at the core that transaction process, making sure that uh, we're not expecting the masses or a new user to this community or industry to come in and be able to look at the bid and ask charts of an actual peer-to-peer marketplace. That's very difficult to do. I remember when I was first kind of starting out, I had to actually buy Bitcoin from Coinbase, which I loved the process. It was very easy and simple. But then I had to ship it to a Korean exchange to go buy the asset I wanted because that's the only place that had it. And it was in Korean, so I had to use Google Translate. And it was very difficult. And I have a design and development background. So not far off from what I should have been able to figure out on my own, but it was still unnerving. So I couldn't imagine somebody that didn't have that type of background, what they might have been going through. So at our core, we're trying to make it very easy to buy and sell digital assets.
That's awesome. We talk about this a lot in this space, is that the only way to get more people involved is to make it easier for them. And definitely crypto has, of course, all the sort of scary connotations with it. And we're lucky because things are changing. Normies are taking notice. There's so many avenues to discovering crypto now. And the scary part is not crypto itself, but when you get here and you decide, yep, I'm in, I'm ready to go, it's finding a place that is accessible and understandable. Like it almost felt for a while there that you had money to spend and you were trying to give it to someone and you couldn't. And so I think it's really exciting that the focus is on knowing the people behind the product that you're using, being able to trust them, and being able to pick it up and have it be easy. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I think is such a great match for Hive, especially because Hive it seems to function as a gateway for a lot of people. They come, they know how to blog, but they don't know how to crypto. They know how to play a card game or do a live stream, but they don't know how to crypto. And so
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, having that matched up with their interests, now they're earning crypto. And now what do they do with it? And so finding services where they can start exchanging this value, buying and selling, and being able to actually get involved is really exciting. So that's something that we certainly maybe aren't missing, but has been really underrepresented. So I'm personally really excited about the listing.
Well, and what I like that you mentioned with Hive is the emphasis has first been on the use case and not necessarily just making a blockchain project or putting a crypto out there and building something around it. I think we've kind of went through the last 2 years of everybody wanting to put something on the blockchain, having an ICO or some other type of project like that that really didn't have any sort of value other than it was just a crypto and you could just say, yeah, it's worth this much and maybe it'll go up or maybe it'll go down. uh, but I think we're past that point now in the industry. I think you know the fact that it's a blockchain technology is important, but it can actually be a secondary thing and shouldn't be the front and center of what you're trying to do. It should be, Hive is helping content creators and creating this ecosystem for these types of services and platforms. So that's number one, and your normies need to see that and recognize that and be able to jump in and do what they were going to go do on maybe another platform, and then introduce to these additional benefits that come after. So receiving, something like Hive,
Yeah.
uh, that they'll be then like, okay, I've got this. Now I'll start researching into what it is. It doesn't work the other way around. They're not going to go be like, okay, why is this on the blockchain? Why should I go use this? You're going to lose them as soon as you for the most part, once you say blockchain technology, they'll probably just kind of glaze over it.
It's so true. I'm so excited. I'm sitting here on the other end, just, I'm wanting to be like, oh, this guy gets it. It's one of the things that's been quite a challenge, certainly in the sort of social blockchain space. It's certainly difficult to kind of start with the idea of blockchain. And yeah, the eyes glazing over thing definitely is part of the onboarding process. And so, one of the exciting things that has kind of come out of the whole birth of Hive is that Hive sort of just powers the tools that people want to use. And as long as things inside the ecosystem are useful and usable and exciting, people join in. And then they get opened up to the world of crypto. And so this is another thing that's really nice is we know that for a lot of people Hive is a gateway crypto. It's certainly not the be all end all. There are many to choose from, obviously. And there's lots of reasons why, obviously, Hive we find here really competitive, really attractive. But it's a great match for people who are just starting out. There are no fees. It is smoking fast. It's got a lot of easy sort of access dApps and a wide ecosystem to participate in. But certainly, this is something that we know that you guys have products that match up with. Like one of the things that people have often wanted to do is maybe purchase Hive easily. And that has not always been the case for everyone in the world. And so I know there were a lot of questions around the debit and credit aspects of your guys' business. And that's something pretty unique to you. So
Hmm.
do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we actually just rolled that out as well last Friday as part of our rebrand. We've been over the last week slowly rolling it out to our US customers.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, it will just be for US customers. In the next week or two, it will be then rolled out to our UK customers, followed by Canada and Australia and
Yay.
possibly Japan. So we'll see there. Uh, Outside of those countries, we're working with additional payment processors to get into the rest of Europe. It all just kind of, unfortunately, there's not like kind of one payment processor for them all. It's all based on region again, and you kind of have to just work within your means of where you're going. So we're just really uncovering as many different payment processors as we can, especially depending on where they are locally. South America, Africa, it really doesn't make sense to use credit card, debit card. I mean, we could eventually offer it, but the fees are very high, almost predatory in a sense,
Yep.
where if it's too high, there's no point in doing it. And there's local means at which money is transacted. It's a little difficult to kind of just plug an API within those means, but there are services out there, and it just takes time for us to get. So we work towards those types of solutions. We're not really pushing the credit card
Yep.
per se. We don't, we one of the things that we're trying to do as well is educate a lot of users, and we don't want to ever kind of steer them down the ship to use their credit card to go and purchase cryptocurrency or digital assets in the
Yep.
sense that they're going to, make a return while putting that interest kind of in play. So we really are pushing the debit card route, want users to kind of just stress that they should use their debit card over credit card. Anytime that they're using a credit card, just know the ramifications behind it. There could be some high fees from your credit card because they'll charge it as a cash advance. And then you're looking at higher interest rates. So just something to look out for. And we want you to make sure that you're, using our tools the best possible way that you can for your own good.
That is so refreshing. I'm just going to give you some mad props on that. I mean, it's really easy in this space, especially, to maybe not even intentionally lead people a little bit astray. We certainly see services that are, yeah, absolutely an accurate term, predatory, or certainly promise things that maybe for somebody who's new to crypto or even experienced in crypto, but doesn't have a wide range of experience, it certainly can be problematic. And so it's really exciting to kind of hear that you guys are so focused on educating, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we know this is here to stay. We know how important crypto is, and we know how important the ability to control and understand how we transact value around the planet without government interferences. We know this. We know how many potentials this opens up for everyone. But I know that this is something that you guys certainly highlight on the new site, and you guys have talked about it a little bit is that you are wanting to educate, but also really kind of give back to the space. And so it's really exciting to kind of hear you talking about, yeah, well, we want to make sure that people are empowered with these
Mhm.
tools to do good for themselves and good for the community. And I know you guys have some programs about this, like giving back inside the crypto community and some sort of partnerships there.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the things that we've done in the past, for instance, the community Digibyte, we love that community, strong supporters, great relationships in there. And really it's because, uh, we were able to connect with them. They were able to connect back to us. And it's that community growth together that we experience. But then giving back, most of their all of their community is decentralized, and there was no company behind it. There's no for-profit organization. So making sure that we could donate a portion of our profits back to their volunteers, their not-for-profit foundation that they've just set up in the last couple of months, just helping them with their donations. That's been a focus, helping some of the other projects that are volunteer based, kind of just helping them out because uh, it stems back to the first community that we started with, Vertcoin.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get listed on Binance or Coinbase or any of the others because they didn't have $250,000, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
mysterious number was that they're asking for. Uh, because they're just decentralized. Nobody was sitting on a pool of assets to hand over or X percentage of the liquidity to then get listed. So my co-founder Stuart actually really pushed this idea, and he wanted to actually reverse the model where we give back to these communities and really facilitate their growth and don't charge a listing fee like everybody else was, but really just kind of get in with the community and work with them to progress forward.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That's really really interesting. I'm going to quickly flip back to the article because I know we had some people
Yeah.
leaving some questions there for you guys. And one of the big ones, definitely, and you kind of touched on it already, was geographical locations. I noticed that there are some questions about potentially Venezuela. And we do have some Alaskan members who are wondering what's going on. And I know you had mentioned that every state governs sort of their rules around crypto a little bit differently. So the Alaskan guys, maybe that's what's happening with them. But
Yeah.
Venezuela, for sure, as well. We know that crypto has been really, really important to them. So they're really hoping that that might be something you guys are looking into.
Yeah, we're always looking at new regions. It definitely helps that if you're in a region that we don't support, to tweet us, hit us up on the support little chat bubble on our platform. Really just let us know as much as possible, because the more times that we start seeing Alaska or Venezuela, it really gives us then the ability to pursue, or
Mm-hmm.
just the feedback from the community saying, okay, there's enough people here to go support it. With Venezuela, it's a little difficult, especially with how the U.S. government, because we're based in the U.S. It's difficult to work with Venezuela. There's things that we have to navigate and kind of work through. Uh, More of a long legal conversation for our legal advisor than myself, and it's something that we just got to kind of tread lightly on. When it comes to Alaska, it there's I want to say I think we're at 9 or 11 right now states that we can't operate in,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes down to just those states and their current laws around money transmission and how you can actually exchange money for another monetary asset.
Yep.
With Alaska, it's not clear, so it's very gray and whether we can or cannot actually operate without a money transmitter license in Alaska. We've been advised to do by some of our legal advisors is actually just to hold off. We haven't had enough users ask for Alaska. That's why I say, if like you want it in Alaska and you're from Alaska, let us know, because the more people that let us know, it just basically tells us, okay, there's enough here that we can open up to that state. But when we open up to states, then we have to worry about actually like responding to them, following their regulations. So it just comes down to the risk reward in that situation. Uh, the biggest one we get questions on, New York State and Washington State.
Yep.
They're the two most strict states in the entire US. New York specifically, because they are the financial capital of arguably the world next to London. So they are still kind of holding on to the traditional norms and way of finance. It has to be operated in the flow of money movement. So for them, it's all about control. And we can operate to some degree in New York. We don't have a bit license. We would have to partner or go get the bit license ourselves. But as soon as we do that, it actually opens up our platform for a lot of inspection, a lot of transparency to the state of New York. And it's just something where it's just going to take a massive amount of resources to make sure that we keep up with our compliance with them. And it's, the juice is just not worth the squeeze, so to speak, for us at the moment.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's funny because in there you mentioned they need to be in control. And I am so excited for the day that crypto finds ways to get around that. That's really what we're striving to move away from. Hey, so, kind of taking a look at some of the other questions here, because there are many. One of them that has come up and has been really important in our space. Hive is a DPoS chain. So governance really is down to the say of the stakeholders, which is anybody who has staked Hive. And certainly, one of the big things in the DPoS space right now is custodial funds. And so you guys work on a non-custodial basis, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so can you kind of walk us through what does interacting with your services look like in that case? Because most people right now are really familiar with custodial exchanges.
Yep, and that's probably the most important thing that we can address tonight and make sure that everybody understands, because it's going to be a much different process. It'll look the same as maybe like Coinbase Instant or Gemini, but there's slight differences that we get a lot of questions about. So it's great to address now. We're non-custodial in the sense that we never want to hold either your fiat or your digital assets at all. We don't want to touch them longer than we need to, and we don't want to hold them at all for you. The reason being, it puts an incredible amount of risk on our platform for hackers and for other types of issues that might come about. Second is when we do this, it also, we believe it kind of gets away from the decentralized origins of what Bitcoin and this industry really kind of came out of. So we want to help educate users to be their own bank, control their assets, and really hold on to them themselves. That's the most important thing. It's a lot more secure to handle that way than to rely on us. And we believe it builds a lot more trust in us by the approach of which we give you your assets, you control them, and then only give them to us when you want some sort of trade or interaction to happen. So our flows really kind of work around that structure, making sure that you're fully in control, you have the assets at all time. And so when you want to, for instance, go buy Hive, you're not going to have like a wallet balance with USD funds that you've preloaded or keep on, Coinbase or the likes. You're going to come to the platform, you'll have signed up and verified your identity. And let's say you want to spend $50 to buy Hive. We'll quote you at that price at that moment for what Hive is. And then you spend the $50 or you place the order. We are then holding the assets in our reserves until the whatever form of payment is settled.
Yep.
If it's a bank transfer in the US, it's the ACH transfer. You're looking around 3 business days. Business days do not include Saturday and Sunday. That is a bank tradition that is not dying anytime soon. Debit card is instant. But after they settle, we then send the assets immediately to the wallet address that you provide. So you will need to have your own wallet with Hive, so that way you can input that address and we can send it. Don't put your physical address. Don't put, like just hi, this is my Hive wallet. You will need to put an actual address, and then we'll be able to send it to you. One of the ways we're trying to kind of educate and ease that friction point, because it is a source of friction that we've noticed, developing out our own wallet, which is still in development, and really supporting all of the assets in a multi-wallet, non-custodial wallet, I should say, too. So it'll be a mobile app. It's non-custodial in the sense that you control the keys, and we can help send those assets directly to that wallet to really kind of ease that friction point of maybe not having a wallet or understanding how wallets work at first.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it certainly is such a huge thing. It's such a thing we've discovered in this space, and it's really nice to have an option when trying to kind of dip your toes in, that really reminds you up front, not your keys, not your crypto. I mean, it's one of those things where this space, we haven't maybe been around all that long, but for people who've been inside it, it's forever. Like, once you've been in crypto for a year or two, you've been in crypto for a lifetime. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to forget that for new people, it's really difficult to understand that why shouldn't I just plop my funds on an exchange, or why shouldn't someone else take care of them for me? And that's such a key learning
Yeah.
sort of aspect of crypto, and such an important underlying tenet, that it's really cool to try and hook up with services that want you to learn and be empowered and in control again. I mean, that word keeps coming up, but it's such an important aspect of crypto for sure. And
Yeah.
one of
I
the
mean, we're
nice
looking.
things. Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just going to mention we were looking at some stats last in 2019, the projected losses from hacks
Hmm.
or some sort of untrustworthy action made by crypto exchanges totaled around 450 million. And if you think about 450 million in the terms of how much uh, asset value is actually out there, that's quite a bit for this space. So
Yeah.
really kind of making sure that we get away from trying to take this new technology and put old things on top of this new technology and make it work like it did in the past. uh, I don't have a lot of beef with Coinbase. I think Coinbase has done a lot to pioneer the space, and they've made things very easy, and they have, especially in the US. And that's kind of where I got, my real interest in crypto, is
Hmm.
starting with them. Uh, but I think one of the things that uh, is difficult is the fact that they control everything, and
Yeah.
they want everything in their ecosystem, very similar to a bank. So they've gotten away from the roots of, this Bitcoin white paper decentralization. Everybody kind of controls their assets to, well, just leave everything in here so we can, fractionally make some money off of what's in here, and or some value. And then, when you want it, we'll just kind of throw up a few roadblocks to make sure it's a little more difficult to get out of there. It's a little counterintuitive to what we've established early on, and we're seeing a lot of these organizations get away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure it's hard to miss that Hive was certainly born out of a situation very similar to this, in that we found unexpectedly that some certain centralized exchanges, you know, there's a lot that can be said about the situation, but what happened was exchanges with obviously large amounts of stake on them stepped into a governance situation. Now, where they knew they were, or they didn't, doesn't actually matter here, because it's more of the principle and sort of what this showed to the crypto space at large is, DPoS is a very popular consensus mechanism, and it certainly goes very hand in hand with a lot of the social crypto values that we're starting to see. People are really looking for ways to have self control over their finances and their information, but they also want to have the ability to connect with people all over the world. And it's this strange juxtaposition of being independent, but also forming a global community. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a little bit shocking to see what could happen when an exchange stepped on in and just got involved in governance. And, the passion of the people at Hive are obviously no, decentralization, while it obviously represents so many challenges, is a way that we can all contribute to flourishing. So again, we're always really excited and interested in finding people who actually really give a crap about decentralization, because it can work, it should work, and services that do act in a decentralized manner have all of the benefits of all of the brains involved, instead of one person who just deploys some code and hopes for the best.
I want to. I just noticed in the chat something that made me laugh, that I'm being compared to he who should not be named from that exchange.
Can
I
I?
do share the same name, but I promise I am not associated with him in any manner. And we actually we some of our other communities share the same disdain for him. So we align. We align.
Oh, that's funny. And actually, very early on, somebody was commenting that you have very nice hair, like another previous blockchain fellow who also
Thank you.
doesn't get named much.
What's is my first haircut today in 2 months from the quarantine and everything. So
Oh, you got all jazzed for us. I'm
I'm
still a
well,
mess.
I needed it. It was coming down over my ears. I was in need of a haircut.
It's funny when that's the most exciting things that we've got kind of in our lives right now. Um, earlier you had mentioned, we were talking a little bit about, it wasn't as simple as some of sort of the API or connection work to get services in some places around the world. But I do know that there have been quite a few people asking about, will you guys be offering potentially either API or some code help if there are merchants or there are projects or dApps that want to start doing payments with debit, or finding integrations for crypto, and how you guys might be able to be a help in that, because that's been a big challenge too. Is there a way for a dApp to take a debit card but have sort of the backing of a company like yours that has all of the infrastructure in place to work with crypto?
Yeah, I think at this moment we don't have that ability. It's
Mm-hmm.
still uh, we're treading a little bit lightly, especially in the debit card space, because uh, they've been the slowest out
Mm-hmm.
of all the banks and payment processors. I mean, everybody's been very slow and pushing back, but it's coming. We've got an incredible payment processor that we've partnered with. The founder and CEO, Shamir Karkal of Scylla Money. So ScyllaMoney.com. Scylla
Okay.
is the payment processor. They really kind of embrace this approach using Ethereum to create their token, where they're actually tokenizing the ACH process. So from start to finish, monitoring the bank transfer in the United States from the minute it's issued to how it's transacting between the banks to then when it's redeemed and settled. They've started there. We're working with them between our partner bank, and they're bringing on additional debit credit card functionality, as well as other payment rails that the hopes between all of us kind of just expand it globally to really offer a lot of services. So if there are merchants in the space, we can work with, in this community, any, Hive individuals that want to kind of have ACH processing. We can even somewhat help with debit card processing at the moment right now too. We'd have to have some discussions around it, but we can introduce you to Scylla. They're a great service for starting that. But then we can also kind of just help with the buying and selling of Hive on your site as well. So we're pushing through some APIs where we'll actually allow you to interact directly with our platform as a partner,
Awesome.
and being able to facilitate that within your apps wherever that may be. Or we are working on a very simple like pop-up modal where you can drop a piece of JavaScript into like a normal web page,
Mm-hmm.
pops open. You will still have to sign in or sign up with a Sequoir account, but that once you're in there and you have that, it will be available on that site. So if you frequently need to make purchases, you can do it from that means.
Yeah, that's still really exciting. And it's awesome to know that that's a focus for you guys. And that actually plays into, I see another question here in chat asking a little bit more about Sequoir is what are your guys' top 3 priorities moving forward? Since this is, new and exciting and you've got so much kind of on your plate, what are the kind of longer term goals that you guys are working towards?
Yeah, I think at our core, some of the most important values for us are to, uh, I've said this before, and I try not to beat it home too many times, but breaking down the walls of crypto tribalism. I think 2 years ago, we saw this incredible ride turn into a very sour atmosphere, and everybody kind of grabbed their pitchforks and said, okay, we're better than you, we're better than you. And there can be a lot more good done if we just kind of come together and work together. Everybody has some sort of technology or something different that they can bring to the table, and as a whole, this industry needs to kind of come together to bring on the masses or the normies that we haven't brought in yet, and make sure that it's not a toxic environment for those individuals to walk into. So that's something that's really important to us, bringing that education and really bringing people together. We've tried to facilitate, and we have done this in the past, is where we bring multiple different developers, founders, groups from different communities and brought them together to work on stuff. So that's something that's very important to us. Globally, expanding into multiple different areas. Uh, that, as you mentioned, really kind of breaks down this ability to transact and move value to anybody in the world, any individual, and not be constrained by the type of bank account they have or the enormous fees from transferring from one country to the other and maybe waiting 2 days, 48 hours, or something like that to have it finally settle. Uh, Blockchain crypto is really kind of breaking that down and saying it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or what you're doing. If I need to send you one BTC, I can go do
Yeah.
that. So just doing that within the constraints of these regions and their governments, working within it legally, but doing it in a way that really helps out the individuals realize their potential. And I think that's something to note too. Is most governments aren't actually trying to restrict the use of blockchain technology. They see the value in it. They see how incredible it is. They're fighting against the banks as well. The banks kind of have their set stone of what they want to do, and they're pushing back, and that's where you're seeing a lot of friction. But we've noticed, like, the U.S. government and a lot of the other governments around the world really are kind of embracing certain technologies and certain ways of using blockchain technology. So I think the door is starting to open, and the door is opening for a lot of great to come from it.
Oh, it's awesome to hear this from somebody who's kind of got a slightly different look at it too, right? You're connecting that almost sort of being a bank and working through those regulations and from the aspect of working in the business world and through all the regulations, it's really exciting to kind of hear positives from you because it's tough when you kind of do slip into the crypto space. For a lot of people, you start really feeling certainly maybe not separated from the banking process, but there is, once you get into crypto, you kind of step back and you look at it and you go, "Ooh, this is broken." Like, I know why I'm here now. I know why I'm looking at crypto, because what we were doing it's broken. So it's nice to know that there is certainly support for that, above and beyond banking, but out there, because it is. I mean, the technology and the use cases for blockchain technology and crypto in our world are so exciting. So I'm glad to know that as somebody who's kind of got a foot in both worlds, you're seeing a positive future ahead of us. I'm going to keep taking some questions from chat because people are throwing them in there like crazy. And I'm obviously just enjoying chitty chatting with you a little bit too much and getting a little slow. I do see a couple people are asking about prepaid cards. So something like vanilla cards or prepaid cards. So I know we mentioned obviously credit. You guys are trying to keep people from necessarily, selling their house and leveraging every bit of credit they have to buy crypto. But in this space, we're seeing prepaid cards are obviously a really good option. Are you guys able to take those?
Not at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the ability to kind of get around some of the security issues that we need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So we do match up when you do go put your card onto our platform. We do match up the postal code that is attached to your card with the postal code that you have on file with us as part of your identity verification. And that's just to make sure that we're preventing any sort of fraudulent charges that are coming through. So at the moment, we do not offer prepaid, but it's definitely something that we're looking into. There's a lot of those alternative ways of moving money, and we're looking at them. We want to look at kind of those more. I don't want to say like the company I'm thinking of, but you go into your local pharmacy and you put in a money order for
Mm-hmm.
X amount, and you know if you can send that directly to Sequoir, then we can automatically send those assets to you as well. So we're looking into all
Okay.
different unique types of payments, but in short, no, we don't offer prepaid at the moment.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. And then, so just because this is kind of a good little place to talk about it, for KYC, is it fairly basic? I have not, I actually started the sign up process, but then we're doing this. So I'm going to come back to it. But just everybody usually wants to know in this space. There's lots of people who are fine with it. But sort of light KYC, what sort of thing do people need?
Yep. So we're based in the US. We're at the very top as far as like compliance regulations come into effect. So we're, document verification. We request that you provide your ID, whether that be passport, driver's license. Best recommendation is, because you're using your webcam, it's always a little finicky. Bright lighting, put it on a nice surface that isn't busy, and just get a clear, crisp photo. We use a third party provider called Yoti.
Mm-hmm.
They do a very good job of making sure that we don't really have to like handle a lot of your data. They protect it, allow you to be in control of it. I recommend looking at Yoti's mobile app to kind of set up your own account with it. And then so we pull that in. We also take a photo of your live face to make sure that you are who you say you are, match up with your ID, and then get approval there. In Europe and most of the other countries, that's the extent of what you have to do. You're
Mm-hmm.
good to go after that. Maybe you will have to put your address and date of birth in if it doesn't pull from the ID. And then in the US, because we're doing bank transfers, you will be required to put your social security number in. That is passed along to our payment processor.
Yep.
For them, it's encrypted. We don't store it. And that just ultimately allows us permission to use the ACH transfer process in the US to pull from your account when
Right.
you give us permission.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. So I am seeing some more questions about sort of the fiat on ramp, off ramp. Do you only have deposits, or do you also allow for fiat withdrawals?
We also allow for withdrawals. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have it available in Europe at the moment. So we are working with our European payment processor to actually get the integration in for the final integration piece for the actual reverse or the withdrawal of funds. But in the US, it's in there, it's set to go. The nice thing about that is when you buy on Sequoia with the bank transfer, you're looking at around 3 business days.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're initiating the transaction on our end, when you sell, you should get it either the next business day or at the latest the second business day. So it's pretty quick. And in that process, you're not going to have a send address available to you right away.
Yep.
You're going to come into the platform. You're going to say, I want to sell X amount of Hive, or maybe not Hive, maybe like Steam or something like that. So you're going to sell that token, and you're basically going to be quoted a price. After you place the trade, you'll have, I believe, 10 minutes to actually execute that trade, and we'll present the send address for you. So you'll send the assets to that address.
Mm-hmm.
Once we confirm it, we'll say, okay, yep, this came in, and then we'll initiate that bank transfer to your bank.
That's exciting. So, this is something that obviously Hive is really, really well suited to basically e commerce because it is fast and it's feeless. So, in this case, you're not waiting. You're not paying for gas. You're not waiting for enough, confirmations. It's 3 to 6 seconds basically,
Hmm.
and Hive goes from A to B. So that's really exciting. We are totally feeless, but then there's, of course, you guys have to make some money too. So do you guys have trading costs? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we're in the average right around 1 to 2%. It looks, or I mean, it's all based kind of on the volume, the liquidity, the quantity of your order based on like what we can pull from our liquidity providers. It varies, but it's in that space of what we pull from.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's fees on top depending on the payment processor. So UK, Europe, we don't charge anything for the open banking bank transfers, zero fee there. In the US, for the ACH transfer, we're looking at 1.5%. And then for debit card in the US, it's 3.6. For the UK, it'll be 3%. So pretty close to being some of the lowest that we can on that front.
Yep.
We're trying to keep, all those fees down as low as we possibly can with the processing. It just comes into kind of who we can work with and the type of industry we're in. We unfortunately classified as high risk.
Well, I
We're
mean,
not. Somebody could be selling like bananas on an e-commerce website and it'd be a complete money laundering front, and they do no KYC. But
yeah.
we're full KYC and we're still considered high risk. So I think it's a little bit of I think it's ironic to say the
Yeah,
least.
it's certainly frustrating, but the nice thing is, and you touched on this earlier when we were talking about it, you guys started in the States. You started off KYC. You started meeting all the regulations. Like you're already bulletproof, so it's
Yeah,
fine. Like
I don't want to
go
go to
forth
jail.
and conquer.
That's my number one goal is not to go to jail. If I can provide a service to anybody and give them some value, that's amazing. But I don't want to go to jail. So
Yeah, and I mean, in this case, it's funny because in so many ways, like all of these markets, these are totally normal people, and I think this is definitely a hurdle that crypto is going to have to get over. Somebody was showing me, I guess there's a popular show like Ozarks now, and a
mhm.
guy is trying to raise money to save his family, but at one point he kind of looks into the camera and he's like, I can leverage my blockchain to get you out. I'll get some fees for this, and everybody in crypto is just going, oh my god. So I mean, eventually, I think we'll start seeing industries outside of the crypto sphere starting to realize that, like, nah, seriously, there's a really nice lady blogger here who just bought some Hive and really wants to send it to her buddy. So
Hmm.
we'll get there. Oh man. Sorry. So let me just double check that I'm not missing any of the live questions that are in chat right now.
I have seen
Um,
some questions around PayPal,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
and we've looked into PayPal. We're still looking into PayPal. That one's a little difficult just because PayPal leans more on the side of chargebacks and making sure that if a customer says no, I didn't get this, or this order's wrong, they usually side with the customer. So it makes it incredibly difficult for us sending crypto where we can't pull crypto back. So
Yeah.
PayPal's a little bit difficult to kind of manage, and so near term future, PayPal is not really an option for us. Uh, there are some other alternatives that could become available in the future relating to Zelle, which is unfortunately the bank's version of Venmo, and Cash App. I think they're still kind of pushing forward with a lot of things with what Jack Dorsey's doing with Square, and so Cash App might become available to us in the future as well.
Yep.
Something we're just keeping an eye on because it is so easy to use, and if that's a great avenue for bringing on new users and allowing them to get into other cryptos, then we're going to definitely push forward with it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. PayPal definitely, when they make a decision, that's the decision. So It's always a learning experience for sure. And I know I'm seeing some people missed out on some of our earlier answers, so that's cool. We could catch them up. But what we've got, I'm just noticing quite a few again DApp owners who are just looking at the ability for third-party websites to integrate your services. And you went over that already, being that you will probably be able to provide some portals to your site for
Yeah, so
buying through you.
if you have a larger platform that has quite a bit of functionality, definitely reach out to us, myself or Stuart. We're always interacting with the community as much as possible. If you think there's a strong need to directly integrate it, we do have APIs available, but they are closed off. So we kind of work closely with our partners, making sure that the way it's set up and they work through it is something that we curate together. But if there is like a need for that, we can work with you starting even right now, bringing that process in, working those APIs. So definitely reach out if there's interest there. We can, facilitate that conversation and help out with what those needs may be. And then that also kind of helps us iterate and kind of grow into what that next stage of those APIs or partnerships look like, based on maybe some unique needs that we can help facilitate.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just skimming over the post because we've actually been talking for almost an hour now. We've touched on so much stuff. You've been awesome. Seriously appreciate it. I'm just taking a quick peek. There's a couple of questions that kind of stick out to me that might be really interesting. And one of them is sort of what got you interested in the Hive community and what's happening
Yeah.
with Hive.
Well, we've seen the community just it's very it embraces everything kind of around its ecosystem. We like working with those strong-willed communities that you know just put their heads down and push forward with the mission of what they're doing. We've seen it with some of the other communities that we've interacted with, and that makes a massive difference in kind of the overall just reaching out and pulling in new individuals to our industry, getting that out there. The other thing that I really like is kind of what we touched on earlier. Is there some actual value that you're presenting that's not just related to having a token,
Mm-hmm.
not having a token and seeing like, oh, maybe the value will go up. It's you've got this ability to blog, to generate some sort of value from blogging or creating content from it, and then receiving that value, and then at that point then being like, okay, why do I have this Hive token, what is it, and then understanding the larger play of what's going on. So we love those types of things. Basic attention token, Brave browser does a great job of doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types of projects that really need to kind of get pushed forward now to ultimately bring the masses in, where it's not focused on blockchain front and center. It's focused on providing value to that demographic, that segment of users and what they need, and then them seeing the extended value by using blockchain technology on the back end. So I really love that whole philosophy and what's going on. And I think, starting from, kind of where Hive has evolved from and where it can go now, and ultimately protecting its identity, from those evil forces, from those centralized figures that want to put a control on everything, just kind of speaks volumes to what those ideals are and those morals are. And that's, something we really push behind.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool to have been able to talk to you. And yeah, and I know you're watching the chat here. People are giving you the applause. It's true. I mean, um, it's so much more challenging. I'm sure you've discovered this as well. It's so much more challenging to approach all this from really attempting to always stay decentralized and keep that value forward in your mind. But it's so much more worthwhile, and it's so exciting to know what's possible when you do pursue things that way. So it's really exciting to hear that
It is,
from
and
you.
it's very hard for our team. We work really hard to bring forth, the morals we want to see in the industry, and keep them aligned with what we're doing. Because it's very easy to kind of go astray and try to
Oh
think
yeah.
one way or the other, and be swayed by maybe something that's a quick win. But long-term goals of doing well for the ecosystem and for each other ultimately comes back to help us. We've done that with so many of our partners in the past and our current partners that it's opened up doors to payment processors,
Mm-hmm.
banks, and regulatory figures that have really helped us through the next stage. I mean, I ultimately, you know, started this whole process in January of 2018 is when I first incorporated uh, the parent company, American Trade Exchange, and I had the platform built within 2 months, ready to launch, but it wasn't until like 8 months later, basically in September, that I had established my banking partnership, my
Mm-hmm.
very first bank account. And in the US, there's over 17,000 banks. We're considered a money services business, so that limits us down to roughly 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
At that time in early 2018, there was only 3 banks that were rumored to work with crypto projects. Uh, we happened to kind of, I basically went to New York City. I had a meeting and was subject to their terms. They're excruciating,
Yeah.
very expensive. But we were able to, through our connections, just facilitate that type of deal to get us launched that most people couldn't. And through our payment processor and our good friends over at Scylla, they've introduced us to our new banking partner, Evolve Bank and Trust. They're very, crypto proactive as well. They see kind of the greater picture of what's going on. They're in full support of everything we're doing, everything Scylla's doing on the blockchain space. And so, that again kind of opened that door because we acted in good faith in those partnerships, and it came full circle for us.
Yeah. Oh, it's something you hear a lot in this space, and it's the truth. A rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, it is so much harder to do work that lays, sort of the foundation for everyone. But when you do it, it's really, really solid. So yeah, your hustle game is strong. Well done. I did just put a last call out for some questions. I could see some people typing, but this is a great one in the chat right now. They're asking, would you guys be interested in doing updates on the chain? And so this is something we've seen exchanges, start communicating, is you can very easily make yourself a Hive account, and connect directly with your users. So if you have press releases or a chitty chat that you want to do, you could consider releasing them on the blockchain through one of the blogging front ends. It's not the be all end all of Hive, but there are many choices for producing content.
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can definitely do that. I mean, we're using Medium right now. I'm not tied to Medium. It
Yeah.
definitely, not. And if we can earn a little bit in the background, I think all the better, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
right after that, I see a question. Do we have a proposal on Hive to fund all of this?
Oh, yeah.
We never ever ask for money or funds or value from our community. So, if somebody that's claiming to be Sequoir or even vert based from the past is asking for something, please don't pay them. Don't give them anything. Uh, it's the last thing we want from the community. We just want the support. We want to interact and just kind of push forward. So, uh, you know, any way to help us, shoot us a tweet, send us some love. That's what we appreciate. But yeah, don't send us any value. No
That's
assets, no money.
fabulous. Yeah, this is something that's it's sort of an exciting new central point to Hive, is that we do have a DAO sort of centric mechanism. We call it the DHF. So anybody could put in a proposal, but I think somebody just jumped in and thought, "Hey, what's going on here?" So they may have missed. They may have missed some of the context. But that being said, that's really cool. It's the same sort of thing. You touched on this really early in tonight's talk, the massive amounts of fees, like the listing game out there right now. So I think that needs to be truly, truly shown. Like that's not where you guys make your money. That's not why you're here. It's not, we're gonna, hold you upside down and shake you until all your funds come out and then leave you by the side of the road to do your own thing. I think that's, if that's something we can kind of close tonight on, is that you're here to build these long-lasting partnerships with communities, with technologies, with tokens, with the people that drive all this forward. And that's just, more
Yep.
applause.
Yeah, well, if you think long term as well, just to kind of wrap that portion of it up, is you can pay all the listing fees that you want, and however expensive it's going to be for the certain ones, you might get some of those pumps that the community is looking for, and that they will see, those quick rises in value, but then they'll see the drops again too. So it's still a game that you're playing. But ultimately, when we start to kind of progress the technology and we start getting into a lot of the ideas that we haven't even thought of yet. If you think, when the internet was first coming around, nobody knew nobody had the concept of what Facebook could be or what Twitter could be, in terms of just like the social interaction or how we would use the internet from the very start. The very start, everybody tried to take real world things and turn them into the internet. So mail became email,
Yeah.
those types of concepts. And we're doing that right now. So you can see how early we are when we're trying to take everything that's currently on the internet and replicating it with blockchain technology. But we haven't even scratched the surface of what we can really do with blockchain technology that we just haven't even imagined yet. So once we kind of start getting into that phase, there really will be no reason to be on exchanges or make sure that you're on this exchange over this
Mm-hmm.
exchange. The exchanges are just going to be there to help you get on or off into certain areas. At that point, you'll start thinking less about what these actual massive price fluctuations are going to be, and start looking at what you can actually do with the technology to bring back value. That's why it's so important to support projects that have value and are not just speculation.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely, it's such a fascinating ride to sort of be here. The technology that Hive is built on and evolved out of has been around for quite a while in the space, but sort of as Hive, it's very new and it's very exciting. And so, of course, we have many people who have evolved with this community and the technology, but we also are starting to see people join in who are speculative minded, and it's been a really interesting clash of worlds in that they get here and they're just like, oh, you could do things like there's stuff, oh, this is interesting. And it's really kind of trying to teach that backwards. You said, oh, that doesn't work. It's true. It's certainly much more difficult to then be like, no, seriously, you can do things with this stuff you bought. And that it's very exciting to kind of watch people discover that, for sure.
Yep.
So, given that we've been chatting for well over an hour now, that's pretty exciting. And I feel like we've got a lot of the questions covered. I see everybody's giving you a gentle jabbing in the chat about,
Yep.
about posting
I
on
think
Hive.
we'll get a Hive account set up.
Yeah, we'll help you out after this is over. But,
Unless if people are claiming Sequoir for the Hive account, then I'm just not. It's not going to happen.
yeah, no worries. We'll get out here after this, and the unofficial crimson clad leg breaking party will happen. Don't worry, I'll make sure things get sorted right quick. But what sort of things do you want to wrap up with? What do you want to close off with? Because I mean, we've touched on so much stuff tonight. We've learned so much cool stuff about Sequoia. It's been really refreshing to hear your take on this. I mean, I'm sure you probably hear it a lot because your thoughts on the space are different. They are. They're what we all know should be at the heart of crypto ventures, but we don't always hear them, especially from CEOs a lot. So, what else do you want to kind of wrap up with tonight?
Yeah, just feel free to reach out to us. We are a smaller team. We've had a very small investment at the very beginning, but we're primarily bootstrapped. So we know what it's like to be in the trenches and really kind of push forward on an idea and try to grow it from something small into something big. So if there's something you want to work on, if there's questions that you have, if there's ways we can help facilitate something, we just really encourage the community to reach out directly to us. There's a lot of different ways you can reach out to us. Twitter is usually the easiest because it's so quick. Also, our little support chat bubble on the platform. Uh, Feel free to just ask us anything and everything. We love striking up conversations and going from there. So just being open. We understand kind of what it was to start small. We're still small compared to a lot of these industry leaders. So we try to keep ourselves grounded and make sure that when somebody reaches out, we we give them just as much attention as somebody that might have bigger pockets or a bigger organization and is reaching out.
That's awesome. And so, yeah, kind of, I think you just answered this question, in talking about having people kind of get in touch with you and, feed you all their ideas and communication. But probably the perfect question to end on is how can the Hive community and how can we, knowing that you guys are a bit of a smaller team, but also a team that's making some real moves and has a lot of exciting stuff coming up, how can we help on, from our front?
Yeah, I think we don't really have much for a marketing budget, to be honest, and we don't spend a lot in like social channels. We're not allowed to actually advertise on Twitter or Facebook because we haven't been granted approval for that. So one of the things that we love is just interaction on social media. Just try us out, sign up, go buy some Hive. Let us know any feedback that you have on the platform, how we can make it better, address your needs. We're always trying to work the support as fast as we possibly can. And if you have a great experience, just share it and then, pass it along to each person next to you that's asking about where to go buy Hive. That's the best way to support us, is to actually help us transact and grow the volume so that way we can kind of continue progressing on the things that we want to do.
Sounds awesome. All right. So I think that is a great place to come to a close. It's been super wonderful speaking with you, Justin. It's been really eye opening. I think a lot of people had no idea what Sequoir was before tonight. Now I'm seeing people in chat going, yeah, I'll sign up. All right, let's check it out. So this is really cool. We're going to look forward to seeing some more updates from you guys. I feel like it's an awesome fit for everything
Yep.
that Hive is. So on behalf of the decentralized Hive community, of which I am just a small little bee, thanks for spending some time with us tonight. It's been really great. Maybe we could do
Yeah.
this again in the future as we see some more things come to light and are developing. And we'll look for your updates on Hive.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Just make sure nobody snatches it up. And who's Ned? Why? What am I seeing all this Ned stuff for?
Oh, ooh, ooh. Your hair is nicer. Your hair is nicer. All right. You can give everybody a wave and we'll sign off. Thanks for
All
hanging
right.
out tonight, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.